Dan, it's been a while since we last spoke. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us today. Firstly, our season to date, 2/3 of the way through. What's your assessment?
Could do better. Could have been a lot worse. It's I think we've thrown a lot of points away. I think we know that the supporters aren't silly as well. That's frustrated them. It's frustrated Luke, frustrated the players, and it's frustrated me. So I think if you finish the game on the 80th minute, we're probably second. Finishing the 90th minute or the 95th minute, and we're 13th or 12th or wherever we are now. But no, it hasn't gone the way we quite expected. But we also have to understand this is a year like no other. And some teams are going to get away with murder, aren't they? They're marooned at the bottom, or they've had an absolute nightmare of a season. And no relegation's gonna make this season seem just a distant memory when we get going again on August the 21st.
And that goes on to my next question. With the league now confirming there is no relegation, that's obviously a lucky escape for a few clubs down the bottom. But do you think that affects the integrity of the competition by having no relegation?
I'm not sure we can judge that yet. I think only the fullness of time will tell us that. I suppose we've got to see, how people go about their business. You've got to understand it's not easy for a lot of clubs, ourselves included. If you can't make the playoffs, or then if you're a good chairman, you've got to look. You don't want to be wasting money finishing 19th or 18th or whatever, when you can keep your powder dry and put it in the armoury for next year. And if you're, I suppose, Barnet or Wealdstone or Kings Lynn or Weymouth, etc., you've got that, you've got that in the back of your mind. And so before anybody castigates the chairman or their chief execs, etc., it is understandable. None of us wanted to be in this situation. For whatever the reasons were with the National League and DCMS and the National Lottery and Sport England, we are where we are. And for people like myself, it was very important that the club's still here and competing when we start next season, which we will be. But how the integrity pans out, which was your question, is I think we've probably got to wait and see. I would imagine there's a few people still waiting on this drawn out procedure with Dover. And who knows what way, the coin's going to come down there. So I can't really answer your question other than, whatever which way clubs go, they've got to do what's best for their club. And as an owner, I understand that.
And talking of that, Dan, we know it's been a financially challenging year for most, but certainly for us, with no income coming in, you've had to remortgage your house, take out business interruption loans to ensure you can keep the staff safe and paid in full. Though one revenue stream that was available to the club was that of the streaming of our home games. But from my understanding, that wasn't well supported by home supporters or Wood supporters. And does that disappoint you?
Well, again, there's a double-edged sword there. I think, firstly, the people you really have to give great credit to are the supporters that stuck with us with their season tickets, and they got free streaming. So, there's over 200 of them, adults and OAPs. The average of those who then watch the game has averaged out around about 120, 125 who've used their codes. The rest of the home support or Boreham Wood support in the stream has been disappointing. I mean, I think our highest home support purchases were Southend and our lowest was Bromley. But over the course of the season, if you take the season ticket holders out, it's averaged in and around 25 home purchases, which is about 250 quid a game, which probably doesn't pay for the videographer, the commentator, and the platform. But am I disappointed? No, because it also allows me to look at all this data. It allows me to see who really has supported the club, you know. And I've got to tell you, if my long-standing supporters, all them old school supporters, they've been with me every step of the way, and they're still there. They're buying 50/50s, you know. They send messages of support, you know. They tune in. They kept their season tickets. And as you well know, you know, they've made purchases from the club shop, etc., etc. And they're the people that I've got to make sure I look after, you know, when we begin next season. Because it'll be very easy there to suddenly give, you know, and reward people that all they do is go on social media. They don't buy a season ticket. They don't buy a stream. You know, they come across as passionate supporters, but they're not. They're just opinionated fans who don't see the streams, haven't supported the club. But the great thing is I don't know these people. So, but the people that I do know, the people that have been with us a long, long time, you know, they've stuck with me and they've stuck with the club. And you often hear me talk about my base and the club's base, because whether we was in the Southern Eastern Division, the Ryman North, whether we was in the Ryman, the Conference South or now, they've always been there, you know, and that hasn't really changed. So, as I say, some of the newer supporters aren't really supporters, they're fans, they're social media people, but when you actually look a little bit deeper, like I have, and seen their opinions. I mean, I could do a number on them on our social media, but you know, I mean, really, I've got milk in my fridge older than some of them. And the truth of the matter is, whether they have an opinion, that's fine. But they're fans; they're not supporters. And so, no, you know, we've never been well supported. So what's changed now? Did I suddenly think we were suddenly going to get, you know, 1,100? Supporters tuning in at a tenner? No, I mean, Notts County get that, Chesterfield get that, Stockport might get that. We get 26. So, you know, which tells you how well we're doing really as a club. And every year we're competitive. We know what we are, and you know, we're Boreham Wood. We're not Hollywood, and so that gives us a platform to get ready for next season.
I mean, you just mentioned there, I think 25 or 26 home supporters on average buying a home stream when there's a town of 35,000 plus people. I mean, what you do for the club and what you do for the community and the work that gets put in, do you not feel demoralised at the fact that there is so many people out there that they could even watch it from the comfort of their own home, and they don't tune in, they don't pay the $9.99 or the £10 to support their local club?
Yeah, maybe. But you've got to look past that, you know. This is my 22nd season. So, you know, I remember being here, you know, we're playing Rothwell in the FA Trophy. We've probably got 75 people here and the floodlights go out. And, you know, and I know the real tough times on the football pitch. This is a tough time because it's a pandemic. This is a tough time because we're not seeing our supporters. We're not having a beer, you know. We're not having banter or you know, or sharing a joke or two. You know, this is the most difficult time any of us will possibly ever experience. You know, it's put me in hospital 3 times. Whether that was coincidence, whether that was stress, whether that was, you know, overworking, you know, over worrying. But like I told you all a year ago, you know, the name of the game was to still be here when this was over. And a year ago, I don't think we all thought it would take this long. We didn't think there'd be 2 or 3 lockdowns. I don't think we thought, there'd be 126 or 27,000 people dead. Just think 126, 27,000 people dead, and a lot of that's come close to my door, so I understand that pain. And so we have to deal with that. So when this is all over, it's very, very important that I remember who stayed with us, who looked after us, and for those old school, I won't forget that when we price up their season tickets. I'll make sure they're more than well looked after. All I ask for them to do, back me like you've always done, back Luke like you've always done, and back the club like they've always done, whether that's with a 50-50, a club shirt, and when we get that bar open, make sure that you're into me for a pint, and we can get back to a bit of normality, because I've missed them unbelievably.
Touching on another subject, Dan, the government announced a winter survival package to help clubs at our level get through the pandemic. I believe it came with benefits such as a payment holiday and low interest rates. As mentioned on our club website last week or the week before, the club put in an application and were declined. Yet we've seen recently Sutton United have announced that they've been awarded a loan, and more recently yesterday Chesterfield announced they've been given a 1 million loan. I mean, firstly, does it disappoint you the fact that the club's finances are well managed and the club were turned down? And secondly, the fact that clubs such as Sutton and Chesterfield that have been awarded these loans get so on preferential rates with payment holidays, which basically gives them an advantage going forward, where you'll have to start paying your loans back, higher rates.
I certainly don't. I don't think badly of Chesterfield or Sutton. No, I think at the end of the day, football needed help, and everybody who's been fortunate enough to get that help, good luck to them. I think maybe where I've been disappointed is parity, really, nothing more. I think we were turned down because they said that our finances had already been dealt with which is well documented, with what I did on a remortgage, a deferred tax, and a Sybil's business interruption loan. So no, I've got nothing but admiration for the owners at Sutton and Chesterfield, and all clubs at this level trying to survive. As I say, I just would like to think that there could have been a parity, for instance, and the loans that I've had to take out and secure, could have had the same preferential rates and preferential terms that the Sport England and Winter Survival Package had promised, and but that hasn't been forthcoming. So you wipe your mouth, and as you do in life, you move on, and you deal with what's in front of you. So no, nothing, as I say, nothing but good luck to all the clubs in their applications. I hope it goes well for them. But my only concern was that I felt that it was supposed to be a sporting application, and it didn't go our way. So I'll deal with it.
Turning our attentions to the academy, I think our partnership with Barnet and Southgate has come to an end. Do you have any new education providers to announce, or are there ongoing discussions with interested parties?
Well, just to explain, it hasn't come to an end. What it is that the contract for new recruits and new students has come to an end. And in all fairness, on a financial level, we sat down with the college, and we've come to a mutual decision that it will be best to just deal with the progression. So we'll still be working with them for the next 2 years on the second and third year scholars, but we'll be looking for a new education provider for our new recruits and our new first years. So there's not something that I can disclose or share with you at the moment, but there is ongoing discussions with a number of education providers, and we'll make decisions, along with them, possibly over the next month or so.
And with that in mind, Barnet Southgate have been on the club main sponsors for as long as I can remember. Does that also mean that the club will be looking for new main sponsors for next year?
Yes, and again, there's ongoing discussions. There's one particular local company that appeals to me. There's a synergy there. It's my family and their family have known each other over a number of decades, and so that's something that we might look to explore. But I can't really announce anything. Well, I can't announce anything because I've got nothing to announce. But yeah, there's ongoing discussions there. I think our main sponsorship is a great package now for people. With the Arsenal contracts, with the development and the WSL, and there's a lot of media coverage here, both nationally and locally. We've got a great media team. You'll get a lot of TV coverage. We get a lot of radio coverage. There's great relationships with the local councils and the local community. So, I think whoever we decide to team up with will get a package that we can tailor make for them, because a main sponsorship should be good for all parties, and it should be something that, I don't want new main sponsors every 2 years. I think Barnet and Southgate were with me for nearly a decade, and that's because it worked for everybody. And so when I choose who we go with, it'll be for the right reasons and it'll feel right, I hope. And but as I say, those discussions are ongoing.
Fantastic stuff. Fingers crossed, supporters will be allowed back into Meadow Park for the start of next season. And one thing I'm obviously sure all supporters will want to know is season tickets for next year. Are you able to give any updates on this?
Well, I'm in discussions with you on that, as you well know. So the important part is that I'm having every single stat is being accumulated for me. I want to know exactly who's bought the home streams, how many times they've bought them. I know, obviously, the season ticket holders who stuck with me. I know the OAP season ticket holders who stuck with me, under 20s, all the way down. I know the ones who wanted refunds, and I understand all of those things. But in the end, we will ensure that without me giving too much away, because, as I say, myself and you are talking about a membership scheme, but every single one of those season ticket holders will be looked after. They won't need to worry on that score. I think last year it was £149. Am I right?
It was £149
for the adults and the OAPs. Yeah, well, it certainly won't be more than that. There'll be a price freeze, and but I want to do some other little bits for them. They haven't seen it, but I've rebuilt their bar. Wonderful. I mean, they're going to be really pleased, I hope. This is their club, and I'll make sure it's there ready for them. I think we're getting back in end of May, don't we? We're getting back for Maidenhead, is it? Last game of the season?
Potentially so, yes. Yeah, we're going well.
So, let's have a street party, because, as I say, I've missed them. I'm sure they've missed, this place. This was part of what we are, whether it's the walk into the bar, whether it's the walk up the drive, whether it's where you stand, where you sit. Football, for football people, this is their cathedral on a Saturday. And I'm no different. I'm a football fan of this football club. I grew up here as a youngster. Dad managed here. and this pandemic's it's our town, hugely, and and we'll deal with that perhaps when we're allowed to get together.
Well, that last statement will certainly please one of your longest standing fans in Phil Jackson. He was desperate to know that he was going to have a bar to drink in next year, so that will certainly go down well with him.
Well, I need to get him his bitter in, won't I? Because what's he like? He likes Tetleys, doesn't he? I think
anything bitter drink.
Anything bitter, yeah. But again, he sells our 50/50s, and this is what I'm saying. So all these people will soon, hopefully, be back with us. But we should understand, where we are. Again, some of these people on social media need to be very, very careful what they wish for. As you know, across this league, there's been a number of managers losing their jobs recently, and there's clubs perhaps being a little bit impatient, and but there's more to life sometimes than 3 points. And as I say, this pandemic's played had a heavy price for a lot of people. It's cost an awful lot of money to keep us afloat, and again, I'd like to thank Alan Swan for his contribution. I'd like to thank those season ticket holders who stayed with us. The sponsors have been amazing; they've stayed with us. We've lost the college, but they've had it hard, and so there's an awful lot of people that are reworking their business model. And we'll soon announce a new 6-7 year deal with Arsenal, with the development team, with the women's sides. You'll see now that the WSL has now signed a deal with the FA, the BBC and Sky Sports for next year. So again, we've got to get ourselves ready for that. We've got to create a new business model here to make sure that we learn our lessons from the last 12 months, and we'll be competitive again, and we'll see where that takes us. You've got to understand it. When I walked in here 22 years ago, as I say, I think my stable diet was Malden and Tiptree, or Great Wakering, and now these supporters having a whinge up because we throw a 2-0 lead away against Notts County, and it is frustrating, but it's far more frustrating to be a Notts County fan, I would think, because when I came into this club, I think they were probably in the Championship, and there's probably been an 8-league swing for us to be playing them as equals here, and so as I say, we should be thankful for where we are. 25 or 26 home stream purchases on a Saturday don't go far at $9.99. It doesn't even, as I say, it doesn't even pay for the videographers, FC Video, and the commentators, or the program, or the free program production. So, we try and give value for money. We genuinely do our best, and I'm very, very lucky to have the staff around me that I've got.
Fantastic. And just one last question for myself, and you sort of kind of touched on it there. Supporters, do the supporters need to be slightly more realistic in their expectations? As you just said, in the 22 years you've been here, I think we've probably progressed 4 or 5 divisions to where we are now. But the teams we're competing against are teams with rich history, such as Wrexham, Notts County, Chesterfield, Stockport, who've all been sort of League One and above. So they've dropped 4 or 5 divisions. So, it shows the parity of where they've gone and where we've gone to. So do you think the supporters sometimes need to just be a little bit more realistic with what they're expecting?
Perhaps, but there's also the other side of it where we're an underdog club, and there's nothing better, is there, than chinning a big club and bloodying their nose occasionally. I remember when we beat Orient here, the year they won the title, when Femi smashed one home with a little back heel from Sauber. And that's something we haven't touched on in this interview. But we can ask them to think about that. But again, every August, hope springs eternal. Every year, I don't want to be sitting 13th or 12th, or I don't want to be making up the numbers. We had a squad here this year that should have gone to the playoffs. Will it make it? I have to be a realist and say I don't think so. But that's not for the want of trying. But there's an awful lot of reasons for that we don't go out and whinge and bleat like the bigger clubs. We keep our dirty washing in-house. We've had injuries, suspensions, we've had COVID, we've had that, not that it's been caught here, but we don't suddenly call a game off every 5 minutes. We go and deal with it in the best way that we can. And of course, I couldn't stand in Sorba's way when Huddersfield come, because it was a fantastic deal for the club. It was a fantastic deal for the player, and it was the right thing to do. Did I think we would miss Sorba when we brought in Christian Pearce and Junior Marias and Tyrone Marsh in the way we have? Perhaps not. But it just showed you that when we put him in that 10 role, and in December, we bashed Canvey, we got to the third round of the FA Cup. We got a kid that, was one of our own. He's already making appearances in the Championship. So there was so many things that were positives. But since he's gone, we haven't quite felt the same side, as we've gone through the thirds, and and as you remember, we were 2-0 up at home to Aldershot. Everyone forgets that one, and Sorba popped up and got us the winner in the last minute in that 3-2 win, and yet we go down and we're 3-1 up last Saturday. And let's be honest, if Sorba was probably playing, we'd have probably won that comfortable, wouldn't we? And sometimes they're the small margins in football, but so hopefully that's answered the question.
Fantastic, Dan. As always, thank you for your time, and as always, as we end, any final message for our supporters?
No, there's no messages. Just I hope, obviously we're nearly at the end of that road, that pandemic road. It's been long, it's been hard. We need to get our vaccines into everyone, and the sooner we can get back and being a part of each other and communicating and just being a football club again, we can almost be open all hours. It'll be wonderful. The new bar will be ready for them. We'll create a season ticket platform that's good for all our season ticket holders. We create a membership scheme. And we remember everybody who helped us in this last year, and we remember everybody who didn't. That I can promise you.
Fantastic, Dan. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, God bless.